G'day everyone, and welcome to the Culture Corner North America. G'day Ruzi, Carly, how are you?
I am. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good. We'd like to welcome our special guest today, the wonderful Miss Monica Gibbs, recruiter, speaker, author, and wellness consultant, also one of our partners here in Toronto, Canada. Monica, great to have you on the corner with us. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well. I'm glad to be back in town and super excited to be here.
Beautiful. We're pumped today. We're going to focus on your wellness side and the component of wellness and how it incorporates into building a healthy and inclusive, high-performing culture, which we're all about at Performance by Design. Mon, give us a bit of a background of your work and specifically how you see wellness fitting into the culture space and helping teams become more high-performing due to their commitment to their people and their wellness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for years I've been focused on the recruitment side, and then 6-7 years ago I was at an HR conference. So I'm part of PAO, which is the HR body for Ontario, and one of the speakers said, you've been doing speaking in the wellness space. Why don't you do a little bit more? Have you ever thought of consulting in this space? And so it's really evolved over the years. But what started out as conversations and companies would come to me and because I'm working so closely with human resource on the recruitment side, I would often hear dialogue around, turnover. We're having issues retaining staff. We don't know why we're losing good people. And, even companies who are doing great exit interviews, it would come down to employees not being happy and not feeling invested in and not feeling like they were able to bring their whole self to work, or that there was balance. And I know that this term is used, and some people heard people speak that they don't even believe there is such thing as work-life balance, and I've heard people talk about work-life integration. There's so many different, definitions and ideas out there. But the one thing that is very clear is that people want to feel that they can bring their whole selves to work and feel invested in and feel that their health and well-being is a priority for the company. And that's been coming out in all the recent surveys that companies that have been done where, the companies who are investing in their employees are seeing major changes. So I started consulting with a few of the leading wellness providers in helping organizations looking at what platform they're using, or what, if they're using anything at all, or have they just been, looking at a couple of quick fix type of things. Are they looking for something more serious for their employee base, and helping them bring that on. So sort of that's the consultative side. And then the speaking side is also, it's something that's really close to my heart, because that's where I customize depending on what the company is really struggling with. And I think the number one thing I've been seeing is companies that have invested in wellness, but they're not seeing the employee engagement. And that's where sometimes I step in and do customized talks on depending on what the company's looking for. So that's been exciting.
I want to ask you about where you see, because we do hear a lot about it, but we also, and Ruzi and Michael, we talk about this a lot, we hear a bit about it. There's a desire for leaders to do. Actually, Ruzi, I might ask you this one. We see the desire, but we don't see the impact. So there's a gap between what we want and what we're getting. Ruzi, when you're looking from the outside into the corporate space, coming back from sport, where do you see the problem in this?
Well, yeah, the problem is where you value. What we see in companies, and whether it's culture or wellness. Well, culture is part of wellness. I mean, one of the best things is your own health will determine the health of your business. That's great. But my point is, the leader will always set the tone. Now, how many companies do we go into now? And there's a meditation room, there's a gymnasium, there's a number of different facilities. I guarantee if the CEO is in the gym and meditating, I guarantee that when Monica comes in and does her wellness program, that gym will be full, that meditation room will be full. But the problem is, as we all know, is the leader is the role model. If the leader is role modeling bad behavior, you got a bad culture. So that's the same in the stuff we do, guys, whether that's, not listening or honesty or passion or whatever it might be, as opposed to wellness. So it's really what you value. Everyone's going to gravitate to what you value. Everyone's going to gravitate to what the leaders value. I'm I was really fortunate to play Australian rules football, but I guarantee I wouldn't have had my parents not been active tennis players. My dad was president of the local tennis club. My mum was the doubles champion for years. I role modelled their behaviour by going and playing sport. It's a really, I think sometimes it's too simple for people to look at it and go, well, hang on. If you're telling me that Monica comes in, writes up a wellness program, I'm the CEO. If I do it, everyone else will do it. Yeah, that's actually what I'm telling you. Yeah.
I had this conversation yesterday with a client around saying something very similar, and I'm like, it sounds really simplistic, because I think a lot of people, they make it bigger than it is. Like role modeling a behavior means that the team that you're leading will role model. Now, Carly, you come from a very interesting industry. I've got a lot of mates in your old industry, and I look at their work hours. I look at even their skin on their face, and they're I'm like, mate, you've got to get some sleep or something or other. Tell us about your history, where you've come from and what you saw in your old industry.
Yeah, so I, in the past, have run a media agency, so working through the media and advertising industry. And yeah, it is high octane. And I think the really interesting part about it is the average age of people who work in media agencies is 27. So they're all out of school, they're all excited to be there, they're all wanting to really fast track their careers and get ahead of the game. So, when you're young and you're potentially single and carefree and want to go out on the party circuit, you want to work really hard and you want to get to where you want to get to. And I think for them, they haven't quite got to the point where they understand how important wellness is. So I think it's really important for us to, like you say, role model and teach the younger people within the business, any business, that it's really important. And I think it's about the way that you do things. And we often, Emile, say in all of our work is, culture is not just about parties and, going out to the pub on the weekend. Culture is about getting to know your teammates on a deeper level. So there's many ways that you can do that. You don't just have to go out to the pub on a Friday night. And I think what's really nice at the moment is, the walking meetings. So, we've got an hour schedule, but let's go and do a lap of, the Tan or wherever you are. And that's something that is really easy for the leader to be able to role model, because, you're still being efficient, you're still getting stuff done, but you're out and you're walking and you're getting fresh air. So I think it's just about building in those kind of elements. And even the steps, everyone's got their iWatch now, everyone's measuring their steps. So, people are quite conscious of the activity they're doing, and there's lots of ways that you can build that into the culture so that it becomes important for the team.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Mon, let's go back to you for a second and just talk a little bit about some of your programming and where you see it work well and the benefits of that, but then also talk to us about where it goes wrong and the implications of not looking after ourselves. I know you love the data, you love the research and the connection that wellness has to bottom line results. So just tell us a bit about what you see in the marketplace around what's working and where the gap is as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's start with what's not working. And I think that some people have a false idea of what a wellness program looks like. And so you'll have some of this, I hate to say old school mentality, but let's have a yoga class, let's invite the whole company, when only a percentage of any company might be interested in yoga. Trying to do a one-size-fits-all approach never works. Even if the leaders engaged in something, have different things that work for different people. So have walking meetings, have yoga, have some other types of sports, but have different options, because not everyone is going to gravitate to the same thing. So the things that I've seen that have worked really well are platforms where employees get to fill out a survey when they're onboarded of what their interests are, what they enjoy, and even if maybe they don't like yoga, but they see other people doing it and then they get into it, and that is a good thing. I agree 100% with what Paul's saying. But for the companies that are still in that, we're going to bring in one thing and hope it works for everybody, is kind of, you know, the old way, and that, oh, we're going to bring in a massage person to come in once a week for the lunch hour, and we're going to hope that everybody's going to be so much more relaxed because we have these, and even like the apples in the lunchroom and all these things. You know, these are all things that how wellness started out. They were ideas that were like, let's do this, let's do this. But when you think of wellness and you think of sleep and nutrition and hydration and moving your body and getting fresh air and looking away from the screen in regular intervals, and the walking meeting that Carly said, companies who are really embodying, and back to what Paul said about leaders embracing it and being part of it, who are bringing in diverse and exciting wellness initiatives where there is an easy to use platform. It's integrated into the HRIS. So when you think of when you start at a company and you're given like, what are you given? Like a like back in the day, it was like a handbook and here you go, here's your computer, here's your phone. But now it's, you know what, here's your app, and you just said it about the Fitbit, right? Everyone's got one. So you've got it on your watch, you've got it on your wrist, and it's already tracking your steps. So that should be integrated into your wellness platform. And that should be integrated into rewards. And there should be some fun competitiveness with that, because we shouldn't just be rewarding behavior in terms of what work are you giving to me, what sales are you driving. Those are great things, but if you're burnt out at the end of the day, it's not going to serve anyone. So 85% of Canadian workplaces struggle, say that stress is their number one factor right now, or what's causing most of their turnover and stress in their employees is number one on their minds right now. What we're doing to combat that is to dig deeper and say, what can we as an organization do so that we have a healthier workplace? What are our employees looking for? And that's where the surveys come in, and that's where the customization comes in. So I think it has to be, you know, it has to be customized, it has to be fun, it has to be tied to rewards. And people, you'll hear it time and again that people will just say, I'm too busy or I don't have time. So if it's complicated, people aren't going to want to do it. They have to take pictures of every little thing and post them. Like maybe there's points attached to pictures, and that's a great thing. But if it's not easy to use and it's not syncing with my watch, you're not going to get very many points from me. But if it's easy to use, it's syncing, it's an app, it's kind of, you know, bringing everybody together, and there's different things that people can jump into in terms of what their interests are. And like Paul said, the leaders are involved in it, and it's rolled out in a easy to use way, in a way that ties to rewards. The success, it's just night and day in terms of what companies are seeing in terms of, again, that number one is the employee engagement. That's what they want. They want employees to be engaging so that they see that their company's investing in them. They're feeling rewarded, their company's rewarded, and it's a win-win for everyone.
I think too. I mean, you mentioned time, Mon. What people are looking from their leaders is to give them permission to have that time. And that's what I was talking about before. The leader has to give them permission. Now, whether the leader's in the gym or in the meditation room or walking. Now, if everyone comes into work at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and the leader is sitting in his office, there is no permission from the leader, or if the leader's in the office at 8 o'clock at night. What the staff are looking for in order to engage on those things, Mon, you're talking about, is permission. The leader has to give permission, and that's where it breaks down, in my view, Emile, is too often in these programs we see, great, Mon's point, we love our staff, it's fantastic, you know, let's do something about it. Where the hell are our staff? It's 9 o'clock, where is everybody? Oh, well, we've got a yoga class going, we've got a touch footy game, we've got people in the gym, and what the hell are they doing that for? I'll tell you why it doesn't work. That's why it doesn't work. Instead of a couple of young employees walking in going, gee, it's 8 o'clock, where is everyone? Oh, well, Jim's over at the Tan, you know, Mary's with playing netball with a group of girls over there, and etc. That's when it does work.
I love that. I've actually, part of my weekly learning at the moment is diving into the Netflix culture and Reed Hastings, and they were very sort of progressive in the early 2000s to instill a no vacation policy. Just the policy was take time when you need it, basically. And then Reed Hastings, as you know, the primary CEO, realized if he wants his team to take the 4, 6, 8, 10 weeks a year, he started to take holidays. But what he did brilliantly was, as part of their leadership development training, whenever you took a holiday, you would come back and do a show, or you would send out a little PowerPoint of your trip, and you would talk about it. And, you know, these amazing trips all around the world that And then what actually happened, this is what I love about it probably the most, is on one of those hikes, you know, a VP of innovations come back and gone, I figured out that algorithm. I was climbing a hill in the middle of South America and it just came to me. I went back to my room, bang, innovate. And there's so many of those stories, and they got plastered up throughout the organization, which then became that reward mechanism and that, well, let's do more of that. And I 100% agree. Tammy has a wonderful metaphor analogy. She says to people when she does her wellness programs, if you left your house with your phone on 7% and you had no charger in your car, you would jump back inside, you'd put it on the charger on airplane mode, and you'd put it on there for 10 minutes to get it to 20%, so you know you can get to work. Yet how often do we keep working and working and working, expecting to get better results, yet we just go deeper into the hole? And I'd imagine that would have been surely the industry in your world, Carly, and you would have seen that as a managing director. So how did you cater for that when you were leading your teams?
Yeah, well, to be honest, so my business was part of a larger group in Australia, then a larger group globally. So our HR function was centralized and that was all pushed down. So right. Yeah, a lot of that stuff was, you know, discount on gym memberships, meditation, the massage person coming in regularly. So in our office with our group of 50 or 60 people, it was more about what everyone else was doing. So that was when F45 was getting really big, and we had a couple of guys who were really into healthy food. So they would all come in at lunchtime together with their steamed broccoli and their chicken, and they would, you know, they would make a thing about having lunch together and, you know, pushing each other to look at what they were eating and how it was working. So then it was more about the actual group and them all doing it together as a team. But
yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right, Mon. Like, all of that stuff was pushed down from a group level, but it wasn't until people in the actual office were doing it together, then it became okay, and then it became part of something that we did as a team. Absolutely.
Beautiful.
I think, Mon, too, I'd ask you a question, Mon. Sometimes with these ridiculous diets, and I won't mention some of them, but I think that, and I always joke with my bike riding mates, I don't know what bike riding is like in Toronto with you guys, but in Australia, actually, like, I'm going to put my leotard on and I'm going to drive for 4 or 5 hours. But I think what happens is sometimes we benchmark against things that are impossible to actually do, and that scares people away from being healthy because they don't actually know what health looks like. And I think you touched on it before, Mon, the simpler the better. It's exercise, it's diet, it's all those modalities that make people keep coming back, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think that companies who are embracing this holistic approach to wellness and not just saying, let's just work out. They're looking at, you know, again, fitness, nutrition, sleep, hydration, but also mind, body. So they're looking at, like, what are we doing for personal development? Now, companies with really robust wellness wheels have financial wellness in there, and they have seminars because finance is coming up as one of the number one stresses. So I talk about 85% of workplaces being stressed. Burnout is now a medical diagnosis. The number one thing that people are stressed about is financial. Now, put this past year into things and how people have felt that they needed to perform. So companies including financial wellness seminars and exactly what Tammy does, meditation and yoga, breathing, and even sessions before a meeting. Yes, at the table, whatever it is, doesn't matter. If it's a virtual meeting or not, let's do some breathing. Let's do this together. You know, walking meetings, great. But that whole, it's more than just, you know, the fitness and nutrition. And there are different types of fun challenges that companies can do depending on what, you know, is happening at that time. So with COVID, sleep averages have gone down, screen time has gone up. You know, eating has been for most people this past year because they're at their desk or they're at home and they're in lockdown. And so encouraging ways, and again, like you said, Paul, giving permission to take those breaks and to make those healthy actions and rewarding it and being excited about it, that's where the real change and impact is going to happen.
Yeah, I love it. The sharing of the story piece is really big, isn't it? You know, when, that really builds it. So I want to end up with, through COVID, Mon, have you seen anything that's just like, you've just gone, wow, that was cool, that you can share to our audience?
Yeah, I think one example, and actually it came about in my the presentation that I did for HRPA this year from Barbados, which was which was quite interesting. But it was all around a company called Sprout at Work. They do customized wellness solutions for larger companies, but they're global. They have one of the highest engagement ratios. What they did after COVID started was they said, we're going to start a meditation challenge, and they did some fun and different things with it. So they had one that was around food, because people are eating their food at their desk or quickly with their kids, and they're jumping on another meeting, and they had it be around being grateful for the food, taking a pause, eating, digesting, resting, that whole rest and digest. And they had some amazing testimonials from their clients saying, I've never done anything like this before. I've never had a meditation before. All these interesting things came out where it was new to some people. And so the meditation testimonials that came through since COVID hit were just, their engagement ratios were just super high. And they just saw some really great feedback from existing, but also from new clients who were hearing about what they were doing. And they were saying, listen, we have some fitness and nutritional things going on, but we're not integrating, the meditation piece. We don't have a lot of mind body. We don't have our leaders invested, or whatever it was. And Sprout was able to come in and say, look, this is what we're doing for, XYZ companies. So, it was really, again, that getting people excited. And when people share a story and other leaders are hearing about it, it kind of spreads. So it was one of those positive stories that during a time of crisis, people were excited about, having their company invest in something different for them that actually slowed them down, made them think, made them appreciate it, and they felt a difference in their bodies. They actually felt a difference after their meal. And it was just so interesting, how something so small can make such a big impact. And then it's like a domino effect. Think about when you eat well, how you feel, and then when you feel well, how you sleep and how you hydrate. It all works together. But when we integrate it all, we make it simple, like Paul said, for people to integrate it and make it fun and accessible and rewarding and lead, by being that positive change, incredible things can happen.
Yeah, I love it. So to wrap it up, ask your team. Get their information, tailor your experience. And wellness is not just nutrition and exercise. It can also be financial literacy, right? Mm-hmm. Number 2, simple and practical. And number 3, where you can really build that healthy internal competition. That's what I heard through the chat there, Mon. Wonderful to have you on the Culture Corner, Monica. We'll have you again in the not too distant future, probably Tammy next time, Ruzi, I reckon.
Well, what I wasn't good enough.
Well, I didn't want to say it out loud, but anyway.
You're going to replace me already, Em.
Ruzi, let's go for a walking meeting.
Yeah,
exactly. No, great tips, Mon. Thanks. That was awesome. Well done.
Beautiful. Thanks again, guys. And we'll see you next time here on the Culture Corner.